RMJ Movie Reviews back again with an on-the-fly movie review and from a new location of Justice League. Well. Justice League. What can I say about Justice League? Look, 157,000 millionth time. I'm an 80s kid. I'm 36 years old. So, of course, Justice League to me is Super Friends, which I used to watch the Super Friends faithfully back in the day, the cartoon. And I was always more familiar with Super Friends, Justice League, more than I was the Avengers. I'm a big fan of Superman, big fan of Wonder Woman, big fan of Batman. You know, I love all those guys. The Flash. I used to love the retro. I think I said that in my Wonder Woman review, or Batman v Superman. I think I might have said that in there. But I was a big fan of the original Flash TV series from 1990. So here's my thing. I was not in great anticipation of a Justice League movie, namely because I never thought there'd be one. And this is way before the Avengers. I was never familiar with the Avengers until the Avengers movie came out. I know the characters, but I didn't realize they had this giant group called the Avengers. So anyway, upon hearing that they were going to come up with this movie, I was very cynical. And one of the reasons I'm very cynical is because, they're saying all this stuff about, I'm sorry, y'all, I'm sick. But, they're talking about all this stuff like, don't compare it to the Avengers, but the entire reason this movie is made is because DC is copying Marvel and trying to do the team-up movies. That's the entire reason this thing was made. So I had a very cynical attitude about this movie. Look, I like Man of Steel. I really like Wonder Woman. I like Batman v Superman. Namely, one of the things that I really like about Batman v Superman is just its nihilistic, dark attitude. It's basically a graphic novel. It's basically like if the makers of The Crow with Brandon Lee made a Batman and Superman movie. My issue with Batman v Superman, like I've said before, is that it's kind of a convoluted, kind of just they were trying to do this movie when they should have just made it simply Batman versus Superman and Lex Luthor and left everything else out. But as it stands, they were trying to make this movie. This movie's fun. I liked it. But this movie is exactly what I expected it to be. It's thrown together. I think I saw one movie reviewer who gave a basic description that this movie Justice League is like getting a cheeseburger from McDonald's. If you're hungry, it's quick, it's simple, it fits the bill, but there's very little substance to it. And that's the whole thing. The movie, you really don't get a chance to know the characters. Everything is just very quick, and the only people is Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. That's really it. The best parts of this movie is basically the character interactions. That stuff is all fun. Ben Affleck is Batman. I love Ben Affleck as the new dark Batman. Obviously, because of the complaints from Batman v Superman, he's not as Charles Bronson psychotic here. He's definitely toned back some. But I still think Ben Affleck does a really good job, and I really like his scenes that he has with Gal Gadot, and I like the brief scenes that he has with Henry Cavill. Gal Gadot, she's great. Jason Momoa as Aquaman, he's just badass. He's awesome. I love his character. I really wanted more of him. The gentleman who plays Cyborg, he's great. The kid who plays Flash, he's mugging, but still he's good. Everybody's good. The actors are all good. Henry Cavill here, he's definitely more Christopher Reeve here. Definitely more. He really, the nuance in this performance is much different than what he did in Man of Steel. Definitely way more up in tone than what he did in Batman v Superman. But that was a different movie altogether. That whole tone of Batman v Superman is not even in this at all. And I think as far as Henry Cavill's performance as Superman, as brief as he is in this movie, because he's not really spoiler, he's not really in that much of this movie. He's very good. His performance here is very akin to Christopher Reeves in the tone and kind of the hopeful feel of his attitude here. But pretty much this is a completely cynical studio driven movie. Now, it's not to say that it's not fun, but this movie, had it taken its time like Marvel did, which Marvel really plotted out each person's movie, then they did the team up movie. They really constructed it very thoroughly and planned it out. But as it stands, Justice League is like um, a 20-page paper you write for a college class the day before it's due. You know what I mean? You're just not gonna you're just gonna rush and throw some stuff together. You might have some really good high points, but the majority is not gonna hit like it should. But that's not to say that it's not fun. It's just that this movie, if they planned it more thoroughly and thought it more out, and were not just trying to hit a monetary number and copy Marvel, this movie could have came together a lot better. But as it stands, this is just brief, thrown together fun. It doesn't do anything extraordinary. It's brief and simple and fun. As a matter of fact, I'd equate this to like maybe like watching a Jean Claude Van Damme or Steven Seagal early '90s action movie. You know, it hits the notes that you want it to hit. You're in and out, and it's done. That's Justice League for you. I did appreciate that Danny Elfman, who did, of course, scores for Darkman, Dick Tracy, the original Tim Burton Batman movies. I really appreciated that he did the Spider-Man 2002. I really appreciate that he did the score here because he brings in the little brief nuances from Michael Keaton Batman briefly in the animated series, and he brings in a tad bit of Christopher Reeve's Superman theme. It's very, very briefly. It's very tiny. I wish they would have brought it up a little bit more with the new Superman theme, but it's very briefly there for a minute, which I thought was a nice, very nice nod. And I like the fact that a lot of this movie, unlike the Christian Bale Batman movies, uh, and I think some of the Nolan Man of Steel stuff, is this really not? It feels like when you watch the movie Dick Tracy or Tim Burton Batman 1 and 2, those movies you can tell are shot completely on sets. And I like that 90% of this movie feels like it's shot on the set. So this does have that Dick Tracy, Michael Keaton Batman early '90s like superhero, the Flash TV series from 1990, where it really feels like it's shot on a backlot, and I like that to me because it lends itself to just that feel. And Danny Elfman again in the score hits kind of those notes that he hit in those earlier movies, with kind of that summery blockbuster feel. Although this is a much uh, this just feels smaller than even those movies from back then. And as far as the villain, look, the villain doesn't make an impression. I would have liked if they would have used that other guy, the gray dude with the blue Dark Star or Dark Side, I think is his name. I can't remember. I had the toy when I was a kid. It would have been. I'm not sure the way it goes, but it'd been nice if they would have used him here. But again, they could have used somebody more threatening. But basically, it just stands as that this guy wants to take over and destroy the world. I have the same complaint as everybody else. They're like the Steppenwolf or whatever his name is. He's got his little demon minion people, which I thought they were cool. But they're kind of just particularly terrorizing one family when I thought it would have. And that's one thing I noticed about this movie is it feels small to me. Like the Avengers felt like it was a large scale. This feels very tiny to me. So really, the only reason really to watch this movie is just to see. At least I think really more for people my age who grew up watching the Super Friends. It's just to see all these guys together. It is cool to see them all together on the screen. But again, we don't know them well enough. The only ones we know really are Henry Cavill, Wonder Woman and Ben Affleck. And Ben Affleck is really 1.5 movie, or really, yeah, he's really more like 1.5 movie, but that's only because Ben Affleck is such a great actor. And Batman v Superman was really more Batman's movie than I thought it was Superman's movie. At least the theatrical cut was. But those are the ones we really know. We get to meet everybody else, but again, we don't spend enough time with them, so you're not invested like you were in the Avengers. So everybody keeps saying we're not going to compare it to the Avengers, but we all know that's the whole reason this movie was made. So look, I'd say catch it at a really afternoon showing. Or I think at the same time, you probably could wait for it to come to streaming, which, it'll be out in streaming probably about another 2 months anyway. So it was fun, but, the DC universe, as far as theatrical films, I think it's busted. They're done. This is Marvel has killed them. So they can't catch up with Marvel. They just can't. Even if Marvel has another bomb, even if their next movie bombs, if they make another Incredible Hulk movie and it doesn't do as well, it doesn't matter. Marvel is just knocking them out the park. DC just can't compete. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't think this Wonder Woman is the poster child so far out of all the movies. Although I think people beat up Man of Steel a little bit too much because I thought that was good. But really, I think Wonder Woman and Man of Steel are really, that's what you got so far. Now, is this better than Batman v Superman? That depends on your taste. If you want something light and fun, then yeah. But I think just in terms of storytelling, which both of the movies don't have good stories either way, but if you want to see something that's much more clear and much more coherent, you definitely go with Justice League. So it was brief and fun, but they could have did way better than this. So that's my review of Justice League. Thumbs up the video, subscribe to the channel, share the video. Don't forget to hit the little ding-a-ling-ling bell when I make new videos, and leave comments down below about Justice League. RMJ Movie Reviews. I'll see you soon.